Welcome to Daily Armor. Our verse today will be found in the book of 2 Peter, chapter number 1. We'll be looking at verse number 6 and concentrating on that word patience today. And I know that's a word that we all struggle with is patience. But let's look at the verse. 2 Peter, chapter number 1, verse number 6. And to knowledge, temperance, and to temperance, patience, and to patience, godliness. And we'll be concentrating, like I said, on that word patience today. I really liked the definition of it. The biblical definition had a list, a very long list of words to help us define what is it to be patient. What is it like to be patient? What is, what's happening when we're patient? So I'm going to refer to my notes on the biblical definition of patience, and it said enduring patience. So patience is something, is we have to endure some things. Continuing on. I think of, just continuing in spite of the circumstances, in spite of what we feel or think, in spite of what others feel or think, in spite of the enemy and how we're being attacked. It's just continuing on, waiting. We all know patience has so much to do with waiting on the right time, waiting on God's timing. And if you've ever waited on the Lord's timing for something, you know you have had to be patient because His timing is always perfect, but it is never when we think something should happen. When we pray about something and we pray about something that's very urgent or we think is urgent, and then He makes us wait, and we're thinking, but Lord, it needs to happen today. And the Lord is so patient. And He's teaching us patience through waiting on His timing. And that's one of those things that He has taught me some patience, and definitely have a lot of work, not something that I've mastered by no means, but something that I can see some growth in over the last little over 20 years of walking with the Lord, that I can see patience is certainly an area of growth in my life, and I want to continue to grow in that. But going back to my definitions, there was this one this one word in the definition that said cheerful, and I've got in parentheses or hopeful. And so when I'm thinking about cheerful and hopeful, we kind of don't think about that when we think about patience. When we think about being patient, I know that my husband isn't the most patient person. He looks like a patient person, but really when it gets down to it, he's very impatient about a lot of things. But he'll have that demeanor look on his face of like, and I can see him getting frustrated. I'm like, you just need to calm down. Our order will be ready in a little while, or this, waiting in line or waiting on, food. We live in a world of fast food restaurants. And we think that once we order it through the speaker, that it should be handed to us out the window the second that we pull up. And that isn't always the case. Nor should we expect it to be always the case, especially these days. There are so many, everywhere I look, there is job openings. People looking, hiring here, hiring there. Yet there's not people out there taking those positions. So what that leaves behind is a staff who is being spread very, very thinly. That there is one person doing the job that maybe before was 3 or 4 people. And we have to be patient and be kind and be grateful that the establishment is even opened at all. Because it may come down to where some of these places are having to close because they can't find people and employees to work there. And even having to do things a little bit different. I know a certain place that we like to go to, and we usually like to go through the drive-thru. And the drive-thru was closed, and so to what Todd was wondering if they were open at all. They were open. They were only open inside. And you had to wait inside in line because they were simply, it looked like there was maybe 3 people in the whole place. And so we had to do things a little bit different, and we had to be patient and be kind. So when I think about that being cheerful or being hopeful, that in the midst of our patience, we have to be kind about it. We're not really being very patient. Sometimes you have to be patient like it or not. But the word here that the Lord is trying to grow in us is to be patient, and to be patient cheerfully, joyfully, hopefully. That means you're going to be kind while you're waiting. You're not going to be over there stomping your feet and pitching a fit and causing a scene and blasting the waitresses and blasting the restaurant and making a big scene, and I've seen so many people just make a big scene, and it's embarrassing. And you feel so bad for those who are receiving that because they're doing the best they can. And so when we think about when we are being patient, when we're being patient with others, when we're being patient with ourselves, you ever think about that sometimes you have to be kind to yourself while you're waiting on these changes that you're trying to move forward in, on things that you're trying to improve. Maybe if you're trying to improve your health and you're trying to, cut back here and add this activity, or, I know some who are trying to increase some things so that they can, gain a little bit better health, and they're having to be patient. But when in our patience, we have to be kind to ourselves and kind to others. And looking at more of the definition of patience, endurance. We have to endure some things. So sometimes things are going to be difficult. Sometimes you're going to have those that are going to try to buck you on it, that are going to be not very supportive. And you have to just be patient and endure some things. You have to move forward in spite of that nobody else is really being supportive, that nobody else is bragging on you, or that nobody is being thankful, or nobody's being this or that. I mean, that's just that's just the way things are. And if we're doing things because the Lord is leading us to do them, if we're doing what we know that path that He has chosen, then we don't need a pat on the back. We don't need somebody to motivate us. The Lord Himself knows how to motivate us, and we should do things for Him. So when I think about endurance, I also think about the next word in the definitions was constancy. To be consistent, over and over and over again, to be consistent, steadfastness. I liked this definition. It says, not swerved from deliberate purpose and loyalty to faith. Ultimately, when we are being patient, we are doing it, we are enduring this, we are moving forward in spite of seeing any results because of the Lord. Because this is a deliberate, purposeful thing that He has laid on our heart, whether it even looks like it's helping anybody whatsoever. Think about Noah. Noah preached all those years and was telling them and warning them about the flood to come, and worked on that ark and built that ark, and then nobody wanted to get on the boat. But it was, Noah and his family, his 3 sons and their wives, and Noah and his wife. And so you have these 8 people out of all the people. You have these 8 people that Noah made a difference in their life. And if he could have, if he could have saw one person outside his family, but he didn't. And he had to endure it, and he had to be patient and, just keep doing what the Lord laid on his heart. He had a deliberate purpose. He had a divine purpose. He had a job that the Lord had given him, and it didn't seem like it was making a difference in anybody else's life, but he was doing it because the Lord laid it on his heart. He was doing what the Lord told him to do, and he was loyal to the Lord. He was loyal to the Lord. And so that's the ultimate thing, is that through our patience, we need to remain loyal to the Lord, not loyal to others, not loyal to ourselves, not letting the flesh rule and reign, but being loyal to the Lord kind of keeps all that other stuff in proper perspective. And that's the biggest thing, is keeping things in proper perspective. Helps us to maintain some patience. I want us to go to the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms real quick. Let me turn back there. Psalms chapter number 3 and verse number 5. And it says, I had laid me down and slept. I awakened, for the Lord sustained me. So one of these words in the definitions is the word sustaining. That the Lord is what sustains us. The Lord gives us that we need to help us to be patient through whatever it is that we are going through. The Lord had to give Noah that sustaining faith, the ability to sustain through the people, not understanding what he was doing and probably giving him a hard time about what he was doing and building this big, huge boat in the middle of dry land. That how foolish did that seem to others? And it doesn't matter how foolish it seems to others. If the Lord has given us a task, and he will give us that ability to sustain it. He is our sustaining power. And then I want to move on to 1 Corinthians. Go back to 1 Corinthians, and this kind of ties it all together, about sustaining, about perseverance. So we need to persevere in spite of things around us, things going on around us. And if we look back to 1 Corinthians, chapter number 2 and verse number 9, and it says, "But as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither hath entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him." So what gives us that goal to move forward is those things that we haven't seen. It's those things that we haven't heard, that waiting on us in heaven. And that's what keeps us moving forward and keeps us pressing forward. If you go to Hebrews, the last place I want to take us to is Hebrews chapter number 11. This is where we've got, this is the chapter of the wall of faith. So you've got this list of people who were faithful. And what I was noticing this morning as I was looking at it is verse number, let me find it, verse number 13. So we've just had this list of all these that have been faithful. You've got, it talked about Abel in verse 4 and Enoch in verse 5, and verse 7 was about Noah, and verse 8 was about Abraham. And you're looking down through here, but then verse 13, and this is what I want to end with. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them and embraced them, confessed, and that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. They knew this was not their final place, that they were looking afar off. That's what was making them endure and moving forward, and to be patient. So the Lord will help us. He will sustain us. Just be patient. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.